how important, according to you, is getting to know Kubernetes and Docker? So, Ravi, like that kind of brings me to the last section of the video, which is basically we have gone through Quora, we have gone through our community, and we have collated 5 questions which are very common around this space. And I'd just like your perspective on these questions and how basically give clarity to our viewers on one of the like on 5 of the most common questions asked in the cloud engineering space. So again, like I think you might have kind of answered the first question which I'm going to ask you, but uh, like what according to you is the scope for cloud engineering in India for freshers, and even like the growth trend for these roles? Like what according to you is the future for these roles?
Absolutely, there is no question on the future or the scope, Rohan. I mean, uh, uh, if you talk about India, we all know like it's going to be digital. The next decade or the next few years are definitely going to be digital, and everything is going cloud. Okay, cloud is the
Yeah.
kind of leader in that space. Okay,
Mhm.
it excels on a lot of things like cost saving, latest technologies, less management, and all. So future wise, scope wise, I mean, people can blindly opt for it, I would suggest, and you cannot go wrong with cloud. That's what I
Cloud.
can suggest.
Got it, got it. And what about the scope for freshers? Like you still stick to the point that it is there, but it's a little difficult then to get into cloud engineering roles as compared to working professionals, right? It would
Yes.
be more easier to get into like an SD role and then kind of transition to cloud engineering.
So see, when I said that difficult for freshers, so I might need a little more, what should I say, research on this. That what are the so what I'm believing is that the companies, like say the service companies also,
Mhm.
they might be offering the jobs to the fresher in the
Mhm.
disguise of cloud jobs. What I'm trying to
Mhm.
say. So
Mhm.
you also understand that the entry level position in several companies is like assistant some software engineer, right?
It might be very ops heavy, right? Like
Very
you
ops heavy, yes.
ops work and
Yes,
you guys it
ops
that.
work and all. It might be ops heavy and all, and all the designations would name be named the same, but the background work would be changing on the project and all. It might be ops heavy,
Mhm.
might be very lucky. Few might be very lucky to get a good project kind of thing, which there
Correct.
has good learning and all. So it totally depends on which project you're working on and if that project is dealing with the cloud and all or
Mm.
not. Okay, so even for freshers, it's out there. I'm not denying that. Okay, yeah,
Mm.
so it's about just what I'm trying to say, that just get into the company first, just get into the job first,
Mm.
and probably from there a lot of companies do allow that internal switching movement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and more and more getting to a company will give you the industrial experience. Then if you have, let's say, prepared on the side for yourself about cloud knowledge,
Mhm.
prepared a side project, and if you're targeting a cloud role in a different company, you can showcase
Mm.
them that, hey, although I'm working on this, I've got all these knowledge, I've prepared on all these things. Okay, and that's how you can get a new role, cloud role, in a different company also.
Correct, correct. So basically, like get into the company, create your own projects, and then move that into like move try an internal switch or try to build up in that company, right?
Hmm,
That's
hmm.
what you suggest. Got it, got it. So again, like this is again a question which you have covered in the video, but I'd just like to know your perspective, or like I'd just like you to emphasize on the fact on HD versus cloud engineer, right? I know that we have covered it, but this is again such a common question that I just like you to give me some pointers which make a cloud engineer different from an SD. Like even the pointers which make a cloud engineer different would work. Like everyone knows what an SD does, kind of thing. But what extra does a cloud engineer does apart from the SD work? I think would be a great pointer to have.
Yeah, yeah. So again, as I said, so what I'm trying to say when I said that, so Amazon, like AWS. has is an organization, right? So there
Mm,
are SDs within AWS, obviously we know, and they are working on developing new features also. So they interact with cloud technologies day in day out, right? They interact with they do the cloud work also day in day out. So
mm,
that's where an SD, the boundaries between a cloud engineer and an SD diminish. Okay,
mm,
and that's why I said that different companies, although the nomenclature would be same, but
mm,
profile or work might differ. But if I have to, in general, if I have to put a clear demarcation here, Rohan, I would say that working or having overlaps with the DevOps part,
mm,
okay, where the monitoring part and the log analyzation and troubleshooting and all those skill also are needed, I
mm,
think. And Working on making the system more, working towards systems resiliency, availability, and scale, all those factors which help in improving the system's efficiency. I
mm.
think these are the things which definitely distinguish the cloud roles
Yeah.
from the regular SDs. Okay.
Honestly, well. Yeah, got it. So that brings me to a very interesting question on the fact of like we've all tried to prepare for like these interviews, right? But what according to you are the must-have resources, or like certain resources which you feel are mandatory to go through, or like which you would heavily recommend for a role like this?
Okay. So see, I think there are a bunch of YouTube channels I would recommend as far as getting the operating system knowledge and networking knowledge is concerned. They do cover a lot of things in several details. Okay, from an interview perspective also.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there is this. I'm not sure. I just don't remember the channel names, but probably if people reach out to me during by booking sessions, I will definitely recommend them specific resources. But YouTube, there are certain channels which definitely help you or cover these OS and networking concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Then scripting wise, Python. So there is a website, very good website called Programiz, if I remember the name correctly. Okay, you should be, if you are preparing on Python and you're looking for scripting related preparation, that website covers the basic Python and all those things. Gives you practice opportunities also. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Even I think Geeks for Geeks has a good collection or good preparation things, kind of, as far as file related question or file related operations are concerned. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that should be your go-to thing there. Then if I talk about design related things, so again, don't go from an SD perspective completely. So design is something like you can focus on different tooling, I would suggest. Okay, Kubernetes, focus on Kubernetes, focus on understanding Docker, or maybe specific tools like Puppet or Grafana and all. Okay, so again, although YouTube again has it, there are paid options also there. There are several Udemy courses. Okay, top selling Udemy courses. There is a, for Kubernetes, I definitely recommend this resource called Code Cloud. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it has a pretty good Kubernetes course. Okay,
Yeah, on
uh,
Udemy, right? Like
right.
Code Cloud. Yeah, yeah, I remember.
Yes, so that's a pretty fantastic resource to prepare from a Kubernetes perspective. Then, similarly, there are resources for if you're looking specifically for Grafana or certain kind of tooling and all. Okay, or
Mm,
Prometheus. Then I think we had to cover the DSA part. DSA side is also there. So
mm,
DSA again, it's pretty like as I said, don't worry about going too much in depth about from an
mhm,
SD perspective, but
mhm,
at least you should be able to cover from that, from how to use which data structure in which particular use case. So
mhm.
program is that website which I told. It anyways covers the different data structures in Python,
Yeah.
list arrays and list stacks and all those different things. But practice wise, I would suggest you can go for a lead code if
Mhm,
you have to prepare for problems, but don't make sure to create that demarcation. You are not going for very SD specific kind of problem which require too much kind of a detailed algorithm kind of a knowledge or data structure kind of a
mhm,
knowledge.
mhm.
So you
Got it.
should be able to demarcate it.
Yeah, yeah, got it. So, like in the answer, you actually mentioned Kubernetes and Docker, right? So that is kind of a good segue to my next question. So, which is on the fact of newer technologies, right? Like Kubernetes and Docker. So, like the question is on the terms of that, how important is to get a hold of these new technologies? And I think this is a common question for people who are a little experienced, right? Like who have worked on the stack before, but have not migrated to the newer stack or haven't got an opportunity to work in the newer stack. So how important, according to you, is getting to know Kubernetes and Docker?
So see, frankly saying, Kubernetes, if you are able to depict it, or if you showcase your knowledge, or if you you are good at Kubernetes, it kind of seals the deal for you.
Hmm.
If I be very frank, okay,
Hmm.
because a lot of companies, as you rightly mentioned, are increasingly using Kubernetes now, right? It
Hmm.
makes the management so easy. So they, if you are showcasing them that, hey, I know about the do's and hows and all those things of
Hmm.
Kubernetes, so you are pretty much good to showcase them that I will be able to take it from here on, okay. Like I'll be able to come into your job and start
Hmm.
performing straight away. I don't need specific time to prepare on Kubernetes, okay.
Correct. Hmm.
But yes, Kubernetes I will prepare, like kind of put it as a
Good to
good
have.
weightage to
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
But having said that, I'm not saying that only an expertise level in Kubernetes will be able to crack it. If you
Hmm.
are still able to give you that, okay, you have that beginner level knowledge also,
Hmm.
and you can show that learning curve that you will be able to grasp or adapt to the
Hmm.
technologies or the things,
Hmm.
then that should also do good for you, okay. That should be able to take you through at least. But yes, even if you are a very experienced person kind of a thing, let's say 6+ years kind of, or 7+ years kind of a thing, and you are specifically mentioning that you have worked on Kubernetes, then yes, you better show that experience by your
Yeah,
knowledge.
got it. And then that comes into when you are designing those architecture rounds, or you're having those rounds, that you'll ask these questions about Kubernetes as well, right? In
Right.
those. Got it. Got it. Got it. So that kind of brings me to my last question, and that is basically around how do I find these opportunities, right? Like how do I find these cloud engineering opportunities? Like even you can give your example of how you approached it or how you started looking for it. But the question is about, like, basically how do I find cloud engineer roles?
So, see, I mean, finding, if I talk about, obviously, if you are talking from an experience perspective, you should be able to showcase before even you find, you should analyze that will you be able to showcase the cloud experience or not. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, if you have experience, you are looking for cloud roles. So, uh, again, all these job portals are definitely the first way, first resource which you should be referring to. LinkedIn Jobs, Naukri.com, or whatever job portals you talk about. Okay, there are a few new ones out there also. Okay, filter out, use your filters and all for cloud related roles and all, maybe use certain terms and all. uh, from the preparation perspective, in your profile you should mention those keywords, okay, the cloud related keywords. If you have worked on AWS, mention the specific AWS technologies. You have worked on Lambda, you have worked on CloudWatch, okay, you have
Mm-hmm.
worked on S3 and all, right? So mention those keywords in your profile so that your resume will be easier to find or shortlist for the recruiter, because
Mm-hmm.
recruiters work on keywords. These keywords play a good role in you getting
Correct.
shortlisted, right?
Correct.
Now, so that's one thing. Then networking is another part. Like reach out to
Mhm.
LinkedIn connections or people offline also. There are seminars happening. There are meetups happening. Okay, tech
Mhm.
meetups happening. Catch up. Increase your networking. Reach out to your networks and all. Uh,
Mhm.
reach out in a proper way, put your profile, tell your strength and all, give them the job IDs, particular job IDs, and then yes, I mean, use the power of networking also. So these couple of
Correct.
things you should be doing. And before, I mean, in parallel to doing all this, make sure your profile highlights your cloud skills
Hmm.
properly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it. So I like that. That's a great point on the networking side. And I remember, like, when I was applying about 2 years back, right? I actually directly messaged a CD of a company saying that I am looking for this particular role and I see that it's open for your job. And he automatically like replied like the next day, and my interview got scheduled the day after. So yeah, like networking helps out a lot, and I can probably like again like recommend for you and everyone that basically just keep increasing your network and then kind of keep applying to jobs, and like don't hesitate to ask basically for a recommendation or for an opportunity. So yeah, like that's a great point that you brought in there. And regarding the resume part, right? So you mentioned that like it's important to write down the skills, right? Like it's important to write down what like technologies which you have worked on, right? So how much weightage does a resume play in like first of all the selection part, right? And then in the interview rounds, like what according to you is the weightage, or like is that the most important part according to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think resume are in fact, it's like your representative, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
your representative even before the interview thing begins and all. So
Mm-hmm.
resume holds paramount importance, I would suggest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I say paramount importance, so make sure you have worked properly on that. Don't just blindly go or casually just prepare your resume and start forwarding it. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure the things you are mentioning, they are highlighted proper. They are highlighting your skills properly. If you are
Mm-hmm.
highlighting your, let's say you have a code repository, for example, several people are a problem solver and all. They maintain a GitHub repository. They maintain their lead code profile and all. So make sure those profiles are mentioned on the resume. Okay, the links to them are mentioned. You have a certification, make sure you have highlighted that also. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then make sure you have highlighted which skills you have, like Kubernetes, or maybe AWS, or maybe distributed system, or maybe what say Node.js, React, and all. If you have these skills, whatever, I'm just giving example again. Make sure you put them on your resume. Make sure that then you put out the points related to projects. You move. One very good advice which I got and which I give to other people also is, make sure you are able to do that in quantifiable manners. When I say quantifiable, so you worked on a project, it, let's say, reduced or affected in a big way the team or the organization. So quantify that. How many percentage was the reduction? How much increase in the profit, or maybe money part, the efficiency part, whatever, but try to quantify that. Okay, that creates
Mm-hmm.
a lot of impact actually.
Got it.
And yeah, these are certain things, I mean, and use the proper keywords and all, and that will definitely help you.
Yeah, yeah. So again, like great suggestion on the quantification part, like because numbers are kind of like easily recognizable, right? Like if you just say that I increased it by 60%, I can directly quantify it even as an interviewer, and it kind of directly gives me a justification of the amount of work which you have done for that company. So that's a very good point there, Ravi. And for people out there who want to get their resume reviewed, like you can book a consulting session with Ravi and get your resume reviewed by him one on one. He'll again like help you create that perfect resume which should help you apply for jobs, and also like take a round on your resume and help you out with answering the questions which are asked in these resume rounds in interviews. So, Ravi, we did cover the resume creation part of it, but how important is the resume round side of it? Like, how detailed do you go into these resume rounds which you have into in a company?
So frankly speaking, I mean, there is nothing like so resume run. When you talk about, yes,
Mm,
a good thing which you brought out is that whatever you have written on the resume, that definitely carries a lot of weightage, a lot of importance,
mm,
in the sense that a person might see your resume, they see an interesting project and all, they might ask you to describe that project. Okay.
mm,
A lot of people in fact do tend to, in the thought of impressing the company or the interviewer, they tend to put up certain false information. Okay.
mm,
That take out someone else's project, just mention it, and think that, okay, I'll be able to just manage it through. No, that's not how it works. Okay.
correct.
You should be able to, you don't know which profile or which project the interviewer will be interested in. And
Mm,
so whatever you are putting in fact, if whatever you are putting in, you make sure that you are prepared on to answer questions related to that. What technologies
correct.
were used, what were the blockers, what was the most challenging part of it. Okay. So
Mm.
make sure you are mentioning the right things and talk about those things.
Correct, correct. Yeah, it's always like it's very easily recognizable if you're faking a project, right? That is the point which you bring up here. That if someone has given a fake project, it's very recognizable as an interviewer too, because when you ask two, three questions about that project, people are not able to answer it, and that kind of kills the entire interview, right? Like that's a for
Right.
sure reject because you're lying on the resume.
Right.
So yeah, like that kind of makes resume like I'll say very important, as you mentioned, right? This is the face like which you present right to a company when you are submitting an application. So yeah, like great point made there. So Ravi, like this being said, I think like we are at the end of the video. We covered a lot of stuff here, and I'm sure like the viewers would have gained a lot of knowledge, especially on the cloud engineering side of things. what are the key differences, how they are going to prepare for interviews. And for all the viewers out there, I just like to point to the fact that, again, like Ravi has mentored over 100 plus mentees, and he's been mentoring on pre-plays for the past 6 months. I recommend that you guys go ahead, see his profile, and give like try booking a trial session with him. You'll get to know the benefits of having a mentor by your side when you're preparing for your interviews. So Ravi, like again, thanks for joining. This was a great session. I think like we've covered so much here, and I'll be attaching all the things which we have created during this session, especially the mind note and the links which you mentioned in the description, so that like the viewers uh, can kind of go through these links. And again, thanks for being here, and I hope like this was even enjoyable for you, and I hope that we will soon do this again.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity, Rohan. And yep, I'm pretty sure learners will take a lot out of this video. Thanks for giving this opportunity to sharing all these learnings, and looking forward to help more and more learners.
Yeah, thanks Ravi. See you later. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Ravi, I hope the session went well.
Yeah, I think it went pretty well, and I hope my answers were also pretty
Yeah,
informative. Yep.
yeah.